When my friend Adam and I finally got our own place, it felt like something out of a dream. We'd been best friends since middle school, thick as thieves all through high school and college. So when we both landed jobs in the city, mine a pretty great position at a cybersecurity firm, it just made sense to move in together. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in this old building that had character, as the listing called it. Exposed brick, creaky hardwood floors, those big vintage windows that let in golden light in the evenings. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that made it cool as hell. The first couple months were great. We'd get drinks on the weekends, cook massive meals we could barely finish, and stay up playing old games like we were still teenagers. Life was good. But then, little things started happening. I'd come home from work and my room would feel off. At first, I thought I was just tired. Long hours at the office will mess with your head. But I started noticing specific things. My laptop would be slightly shifted on my desk. A hoodie that I knew I tossed on the bed would be folded neatly over a chair. I asked Adam about it casually, and he just laughed. Said maybe I was turning into one of those guys who'd forget their own routine. But then he started suggesting I rearrange my room. "Your bed would look way better on the other wall, man," he said one night while leaning on the doorframe. "And that lamp's in a weird spot. You should move it." At first it seemed like friendly advice, but he kept bringing it up, again and again, like he needed me to change it. Like he was seeing it in his head a certain way and couldn't stand that it wasn't like that. I'd laugh it off. I didn't want to make things weird. I was in the dating scene at the time, nothing serious, just meeting people and having fun. Sometimes I'd bring them back to the apartment for the night. That's when Adam started acting different. He wouldn't say anything directly, but I'd catch a look, tight-lipped, eyes a little too cold. Once or twice I came out to find him sitting on the couch, staring at the door to my room. When I said goodnight, he didn't respond. I came home one night and things were getting heated. I reached into my nightstand for a condom. I didn't notice anything until I unrolled it. There were holes. Tiny, deliberate ones. I checked another. Same thing. All of them compromised. A chill went through me. This wasn't a manufacturing defect. This was someone sabotaging me. I didn't say anything right away. I apologized and made up a story and got through the rest of the night. But when I was all alone, and I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours just staring at that drawer, I knew it was Adam. Who else had access? Who else knew where I kept them? The next morning, I packed up everything I could fit in my car and left without saying a word. I didn't confront him. I didn't even want to see his face. I didn't want to know what else he might have done. That was 6 months ago. I changed my number, moved across town, and I haven't heard from him since. A few months ago, my girlfriend and I moved into a decent little apartment just outside the city. Nothing special, but it was ours. Quiet, clean, and finally felt like a step into real adult life. Things were going great between us. We had our routines, shared groceries, split rent, and even started making plans for the future. Then my friend Chris hit me up. He and I had been close in college, partied together, crashed in the same dorm, the usual. He told me he had just lost his job and got kicked out of his place. Said he only needed a few weeks to get back on his feet, to find work and move on. I asked my girlfriend about it, and after a short talk, we agreed to let him stay in our spare bedroom. I mean, he was my friend, right? What's the worst that could happen? At first, things were fine. He was chill, helped around the apartment, and seemed grateful. But it didn't take long before I started noticing things. He kept making weird compliments to my girlfriend. Stuff like, "You're way too hot for this guy," or "If he ever messes up, you know where to find me." It was always said with a laugh, trying to pass off as a joke. I didn't like it, but I let it go. Chris was just being Chris. I figured he had no filter. But then came the showers. Almost every time he took one, he'd leave the bathroom door wide open. Not just cracked, wide open. Steam rolling into the hallways, water running, and Chris just walking around in there like it was his own personal locker room. At first I thought it was just carelessness, but then he started making it more obvious, waiting until he knew my girlfriend was in the hallway or kitchen before stepping out of the bathroom completely naked, towel in hand, but never actually using it. He'd walk past us like it was no big deal. That's when I confronted him. I told him flat out it was disrespectful and that if he wanted to stay with us, he needed to put clothes on before leaving the damn bathroom. He apologized, said it was a bad habit from his last place, and promised to fix it. And for a few weeks he did. Then it got worse. He started talking to my girlfriend when I wasn't home, asking her personal questions, making subtle but disgusting comments like, "Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to be with someone more adventurous?" Stuff she didn't even want to tell me at first because she knew how angry I'd get. But the final straw? We caught him stealing her underwear. I had recently installed a few small security cameras around the apartment after a break-in scare in our building. Nothing crazy, just one in the hallway and the laundry area. I didn't even think to check them until one night my girlfriend told me some of her underwear had gone missing again. I went through the footage, and there he was, in the middle of the night, sneaking into the laundry basket, rifling through her clothes, and pocketing her underwear before slipping back into his room. The next morning, I didn't say anything at first. I waited until he left the apartment, grabbed his things, and tossed everything of his out onto the porch. When he came back, I confronted him with the footage. He tried denying it, saying he was just moving laundry around, but he knew the game was up. I told him to get out, right then, right there. He tried apologizing again, saying he was drunk and not thinking straight. I didn't care. I wasn't going to let some pervert live under the same roof as my girlfriend and pretend like it was okay. We haven't spoke to him since. I still don't understand how someone I once trusted could turn out like that. And honestly, it creeps me out to think how far it could have gone if we hadn't caught him when we did. Sometimes helping a friend isn't worth the risk. When I first got accepted into college, I was pretty excited, a little nervous, and just praying I'd have a decent roommate. I had heard horror stories about people being stuck with weirdos, addicts, or creeps, and the idea of living in a tiny dorm with a complete stranger didn't sit right with me, but I figured how bad could it really be? Move-in day came fast. The dorm was old, built in like the 1960s and never updated, but it was clean and I was just relieved to be out of my hometown. When I first met my roommate, James, he seemed normal, a little quiet, but he was polite. And honestly, after all my worrying, I figured I got lucky. He didn't smell, didn't bring weird posters or taxidermy or anything like that. He shook my hand and helped me move in, and even offered me one of his extra pillows. I thought, hey, maybe we'll actually be friends. That first night went fine, though I noticed something a little odd. When the lights went out, he didn't go to sleep. I figured maybe he had just trouble sleeping the first night like I did, so I rolled over and ignored the sound of him shuffling around in the dark. But over the next few days, things started to get weird. Every night when I turned in, James would stay up, not on his phone and not studying. I'd wake up around 2 or 3 a.m. to him on the floor doing push-ups in the pitch black. One night I saw him hunched over a jigsaw puzzle spread across the tile like he was in some kind of trance. No music, no lights, just breathing heavily when he pushed pieces into place like it was the only thing keeping him alive. I started wearing earbuds to sleep just to block out the sounds, but even that didn't help when he started sleep talking. He'd mutter things, garble at first, but then I started picking up actual words. Don't go. Not yet. Stay still. Sometimes he'd giggle quietly, like someone just told him a joke. Other times he'd shout suddenly and violently in his sleep, jerking upright and slamming back down onto the mattress like nothing happened. But the worst part, the part that made me lose sleep for the rest of that semester, was about 2 weeks in. I woke up in the middle of the night and something felt off. You know that feeling when you just know you're not alone? I opened my eyes and James was standing at the foot of my bed. Just standing there, not moving and not saying anything. He was in shadow, but I could see just enough by the moonlight coming through the blinds. His eyes were wide open, locked on me. His face was blank, like a statue. I didn't know if he was asleep or awake. I whispered his name. "James?" He didn't respond. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen. I just laid there holding my breath, pretending to be asleep. My heart pounding so loud I thought he could hear it. Eventually he turned and walked back to his bed. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning he acted like nothing happened, just nodded at me like usual, brushed his teeth, packed his bag, and headed to class. That was the moment I decided I had to get out of there. I filed for a room transfer that day, told the housing office he was sleepwalking and that it was affecting my ability to sleep or study. I didn't mention the staring. I didn't want them to think I was the crazy one. Luckily, they had an open spot in another building and moved me by the end of the week. When I told James I was switching, he just stared at me. Didn't ask why, didn't say goodbye, just watched me pack. After I left, he never texted or messaged me again. It was like I never existed to him. And honestly, I'm perfectly fine with that. Some people say college is where you meet lifelong friends. I'm just glad I got out without becoming someone's late night hobby.